Hello, my name is Tsunami, and I am joined by a few of my friends. Yet again, I am joined by Caninius, Equal Scorpion, Markster, and a very silent T Drivers. We talked about XWE and we talked about ESC, and we'll elaborate on those more in the future if the potential audience desires to hear about it. And we might just do it anyway because we love talking about ourselves. But we're going to be talking about Danny V5, which was Equal Scorpion 1's primary call. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
hmm
So, Equal, you can go ahead and take it away, talk about him, and let us know who Danny V5 was.
Yeah, well, first, I guess I'll just start out by saying how I made Danny V5 because I actually do remember how I made him, and it was actually a joke. So, we were doing these leagues. We were like in CWF at the time. We were around a couple of things. I had joined the original version of XWE not that long ago, but I still didn't have a call yet. So eventually it got to a point where I was in contention for a mid card championship, but I did not have a caw. So I'm like, okay, how do I make a caw? And I decided there's this kid I didn't like. His name was Video Game Wolf. I found out that his real name is Danny. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make Danny, but my version, Danny V2. I make Danny V2, and he's looks a little bit like Rey Mysterio, except I don't know how to make a caw. So he's just a guy with a black shirt and a pink mask on that says WCW because Rey Mysterio started in WCW. So that was Danny V2. He sucked, but he could fly around the ring and he didn't know psychology. But he won a championship. And in fact, Danny V2's run with some mid card championship in a company, I think it was called EYW, it's way out there, was my first championship that I had ever won in a CAW league. And when I won this championship, I realized I should have a good CAW for this championship and to kind of carry on and continue. So I played around with a few different attires. I played around with Danny V3. I played around with Danny V4. Eventually, I asked Tsunami to help me with Danny V5, and he ended up making Danny V5. And that's who I used for the rest of my time in XWE and ESC. And he was a luchador. But really, with him, what he meant to me was he was the one that helped me learn pacing and psychology. Nero Sin I had used before this, and he was just a monster. He would just reverse every move, try to hit every big move, slam, everything. Danny V5, he would sell, and he would sell for a very long time at times. There would be times when I'd have to sit down and just have the controller out of my hands during a Danny V5 match. I had to let my opponent take over. And I really learned how to work with Danny V5. I'd say my defining moment was at the Chaos Royale in 2015. This was the our equivalent of a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, but basically how we did a Royal Rumble was it was just a series of 6 man over the top rope battle royals, and you'd move on when you won one. And there was like 3 or 4 of them, depending on how many people showed up that year. And I wasn't in one of these battle royals. I was in a match one on one against my former tag team partner, Warren Marshall. Warren Marshall absolutely kicked the crap out of me for 20 minutes, but I somehow managed to withstand the beating, beat him, survive, then go on to the finals of the Chaos Royale, the final battle royal, win the whole thing, and go on to Final Destination, which was our WrestleMania, and wrestle for and eventually win the XW Heavyweight Championship. That was probably Danny's defining moment, and it happened in XWE. When Danny got to ESC, his career really was in the latter stages at that point. I was winding down. I was using other guys. Um, but really his real life kind of got in the way in ESC. You know, Danny V5, he had a daughter at this point. He had a lot of things going on. He had actually gotten sucked into Apocrypha not that long after he joined ESC. It was kind of a weird story. So Danny V5 fizzled out a little bit, but he still finally was able to overcome his demons at the final ever ESC show. So that, in a very, very small nutshell, is Danny V5. And now, if there's any time, I'll open it up to everybody.
Well, firstly, that was like a really good summary just for anyone who doesn't know Danny V. Because first of all, we do have a little bit of time left. We have about 3 to 4 minutes left. Danny did a lot in
Oh.
his career. I would just say that Danny V5, out of maybe any Kaw wrestler, has just done the most as far as achievements in bulk go. This man was the first, and Equal, you can elaborate on this. He was the first real like XWE champion, and
That
he was
wasn't already signed to World Wrestling Entertainment.
right. So the first Kaw XWE champion, and then he like went on eventually to also win the ESE championship in what was also a defining moment in his career. But we will leave that for another time, potentially when we talk about Awesome Ace.
I have more of a view on Danny V5 than I thought I did. I don't know if you have more to say, but if you didn't, to me, Danny V5 kind of represents like what Equal Scorpion is going through in his real life in a weird way. Like maybe not at all times, but I think what Equal Scorpion goes like what's happening with Equal Scorpion kind of gets like pushed out through Danny
Oh, yeah.
V5 because if you think about how you
It's
made
in
him,
there.
you were mad at somebody, right? And
Yeah.
you decided to name your call after that person you were mad at. You were like, I'm gonna make this my own character, blah 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 blah. And a lot of times, like in a heel run, like maybe you were mad at something going on, and then obviously at the end of it all, you had been in this fight battling your demons in real life, and you finally conquered them, and at the same time, Danny V5 conquered his demons. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful way to kind of express yourself.
Yeah. It wasn't beautiful all the time, but it got there. It was fun.
One thing that I really liked about Danny V5, and there were a lot of times where Danny V5 was a really great character, and there were a lot of times where he wasn't. But something that stuck through all of those was you always knew it was Danny V5 in that ring, whether it was him doing a headstand headlock, right? Or if it was you kicking out of one too many finishers, or like every Danny V5 match was a Danny V5 match, and I don't, and like that's not even necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think that consistency has ever been replicated.
I kept
Yeah,
it real,
that's a
homies.
really good point. Dang, I had never thought of it like that. But yeah, that's completely true.
Well, that is 8 minutes. That's not a hard cutoff, but any final thoughts on Danny V5?
Man, I would just say with Danny V5, I would say that he's probably done. Like, you're probably not going to see him very much in ABC, but what you will see is the results of Danny V5. I've got Ryan Gates that I might bring in. I've got Skater Punk Scotty who is coming in. And those little pieces, the best parts of Danny V5, I'm gonna try to infuse them into my new characters, and I'm gonna try to begin this journey a little bit smoother than Danny V5 began ESC. I think that's kind of the way to look at what Danny V5 was and is going forward.
Right on. I think that's a perfect way to end things if everyone's in agreement there.
Yeah.
And like I said, we will probably talk way more about this at a later time. So keep an eye out for maybe an hour-long version of these all together, but we'll see, I guess, in the future. And
Oh man, give me an hour and I've got you the Danny V5
All
story.
right. Well, thank you, everyone. This was the first of the call representations of these episodes, and we'll have more coming your way.
peace.